This is a highly controversial case. This particular instance is where the judge himself was involved in an opinion involving the harm to his law clerks who were assaulted. And then he was of the view that one or more of the defendants might have been members of a gang, or that the police department itself was rife with gang activity, when he himself is judging these police officers. So this has what's known as the appearance of impropriety. This is an implicit bias. This particular harm here was the appearance of impropriety or the appearance of bias that might have affected all the defendants because of the judge's perception that the police department was rife with gang members and that one or more of the defendants had targeted his law clerk. So he clearly felt strongly about this. This impacted the judge's personnel themselves. And I think that the judge who granted the new trial was absolutely spot on. That was required in this case. I was a prosecutor for many years myself, and I thought about that. They they won the case. They used the witnesses that they had. I don't know if they would change the dynamic of the case. You might have a different posture of plea negotiations. I think that is probably the most likely result, since the defendants have been convicted but now have benefited from a new trial. They may come to the table and say, look, we wanted a deal, we want a better deal or whatever. The prosecutors might say, look, you know, this case is snake bit. We want to maybe want to settle this case in some way. And so what I foresee happening is these other defendants coming back and saying, who were convicted, yeah, let's reopen plea negotiations. And the prosecutor might be in a position to say, look, that might be the most prudent thing to do. That's the more likely result, I think.
He not only exhibited bias, but he engaged in ex parte communications with the prosecutor's office, which the prosecution, I think, properly noted. And in that setting, you know, it clearly signals to me that this was a judge who essentially ceased to be mindful of his responsibilities to do everything within his power to appear as even-handed as possible because he was as upset as he was. I think that looking at this case, the community is going to be stepping back and looking at this judge and asking themselves, this judge seems to be harboring some very strong feelings about the police that inure to the detriment of respect for the courts generally. Are judges generally going to be exhibiting this kind of latent bias or explicit bias toward the police? And so I think it wouldn't surprise me that a complaint is filed. It wouldn't surprise me that some kind of disciplinary process gets invoked.
Jelajahi cara baru mendapatkan informasi. Download Metro TV Extend sekarang.